Yeah, I mean, I feel like there is a universe in which I would be buying this day one, but I think they kind of missed every mark they could miss for me. So I probably won't be getting one, at least not day one. Because like, price is a major thing, especially just because have a lot of, you know, I have a lot of payments and bills coming up, like car insurance, and I just had to help Zan with some car repairs too. So it's like, you know, price was a big thing for me. Where 700 is just a little too much for uh, an an upgrade to a console, which is out of the three current consoles I own. Like it's probably the least played, just because I mostly just play Sony games on it. So I wouldn't be getting the benefit of like, oh, I have so many third-party games that I already own that are going to be boosted with their DLSS solution. So I'm not really feeling much benefit from that, and it's also not enough to make me like switch over. Similar to how the PS4 Pro wasn't enough for me to like,
What do you
start buying
need?
all my games on PlayStation, whereas like, most of my library is
Good
on
luck out
Xbox
there.
of, third party stuff. So like that's not really a benefit to me, but I was still kind of open to it if like, okay, if they hit $600 and if they actually put a disc drive on it. Those were kind of my things that I was hoping for, and obviously neither of those are happening. So um
Well,
yeah,
back to
like
work.
I understand the inflation argument. Like of course it was never going to be launch at a similar price to the PS4 Pro or anything like that. Like I get it. Like I don't think no one reasonable was expecting this to hit 500 or even 550. Like I think most people were hedging their bets on in the 600 maybe 650 range. So that's I think 700 is just one notch higher than I think people were expecting them to go. Oh yeah, good idea. If you want to put down a Voyage 2 and I'll go let's do Emissary if the Reapers aren't a threat. Oh, cool. I'll do that right now. Yeah. Wait. Okay, I did. Are we voting for Athena's Fortune Emissary? Okay, I apparently subconsciously did. I don't know why it's not showing your vote showing up. Oh wait, no, it did raise it. Okay, I didn't even notice the animation. Okay, cool. Yeah. Exactly. Like if either of those things was true, if like it came in at $600 without the disk drive, I would be at least a little more likely to consider it. Or if it was just 700 with the disk drive, I would at least consider it. But yeah, like having neither the appealing price point or the actual disk drive. And for me, the disk drive is less of a thing that I'm going to use all the time and more of a thing that I want the option to use. Because like I own like 5 or 6 physical PS4 games, so it's not like, oh, I need to use this on a daily basis. But it's like it would suck if I bought a new PlayStation, sold my old one that had the disc drive, and suddenly it was like, oh, I can't play these games anymore. Like, oh, yeah, I know they have the add-ons, but that's another thing to tack onto the price if you want to consider that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, did you put down a quest? I didn't vote for it, did I? Oh, I didn't. Okay. There we go. Um, all right. Did we set it to dive? Okay. Okay. gotta go. I can just get rid of that. Dirtwreck Bay, which is right there, so we can make that our first destination. And if you want to pick out the other two while I sail us there. Looks like Sunken Grove for the treasure map, and then Old Faithful Island. Oh, great. What grade are they? Yeah. Yeah, if we... I think it's in the top middle. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. It's like a huge island in the top middle, I thought. Yeah. Okay, we'll try to make it quick then. Like, all the caveats just add up on this. Like, none of it seems appealing enough for me to... Oh, yeah. Skeletons should be somewhere around here. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because like the consoles this generation just came out at such a weird time where that stuff was becoming better and better really fast, but they were probably locked in on all the specs and everything like before they could really predict that that would be like a feasible thing. So now like yeah, and so now, you know, in the past few years going forward, it's like, okay, well, now it's going to be a given that a console has this sort of stuff, DLSS style stuff, because, like, you know, people are saying Switch 2 is also going to have something like that. So, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it definitely is weird that they are pitching this with like not an actual new game. Like I can be persuaded by the promise of like old games looking better, but that only goes so far. Yeah, like the yeah, and yeah, and like I saw them kind of pitching like, oh, this will like either eliminate. I don't think they said it would eliminate the need for performance and graphics modes, but it would make it a lot simpler for developers. But like, I don't know. I personally don't really have a problem with games having those toggles, so that's not like super appealing to me. It's like, okay, well, I'll try them both out and see what I, you know, it's not like you're going in and, you know, people do say like, oh, this is becoming more PC. Like it's getting. I know, I know. I was just checking the map, making sure the Reapers. I don't see them on the map anymore, so we might be okay. Um, but but as far as like, you know, I people say like, oh, console options are getting too complicated because they're so PC-like, and it's like, you know, if you're just talking performance versus quality modes, then not really. It's like, yeah. Well, yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't like fast tracked a port of some popular like PC game, because remember when Xbox was coming out the One X, like they dumped a bunch of money to get PUBG on there, like, you know, as close to launch as they could, and like that version came out, and like, you know, the One X was like the the only way to play it in a super like non-terrible way. Like, if you remember that. Like, so I'm surprised. Maybe there's still time. They still have a couple months to announce something. But like, I'm surprised they don't have like just even something like that where they can point to it and say, "Look, this is a PC game running, performing well on a PS5 Pro." Whereas, base PS5, maybe it wasn't as feasible. I don't know. I don't know if something like that. I'm trying to but I guess my mind instantly then goes back to what would that game even be at this point? Maybe something like Teardown, something very voxely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like that's another thing is like part of the appeal of the PS4 Pro is like I had a PSVR and it's like there were decent upgrades when you were playing those games on. Yeah, I did end up getting one when Spider-Man came out because it just I was like, okay, time to upgrade. But I got it, and I was like, oh, I actually noticed the difference in PSVR games with this thing. So, but not having a PSVR this generation, that's just another thing to add to the list of like things that might be a tangible benefit that could be, but I just don't have the hardware. So. Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's just another symptom of like how much their focus has shifted. I'm pretty much the opposite. I loved the single player. That multiplayer was it was interesting for about 5 minutes. It was just so half baked. Like I played a few matches and it's like yeah. Hmm. Wait, is this hold on. Hmm. Yep. Yeah, I mean that's just gonna be the compromise of the mid-generation refreshes. Is it's they're yeah. I mean the I can see the appeal of putting out like a high-end more. I guess my thing is like as long as this is like I just wonder what their sales projections are because they know coming in with a higher price, they have to maybe have tempered expectations for it. Like the PS4 Pro sold pretty decently, but I feel like I don't remember the exact sales numbers, but people think that the PS4 Pro sold a lot better than it did, but in the end, it was like a pretty small percentage of the overall PS4 sales at the end of the day. Like it wasn't like a 50-50 attach rate or something, you know? Yeah, like the the One X was appealing at the time because the performance delta between that and the One S was like massive. Whereas with the PS4 to PS4 Pro, yeah, there was a pretty decent performance increase, but not as substantial. Like with the Xbox One to One X, it was like, oh, this is like very, very, yeah. Of course, it was $100 more, so you're also, yeah, that's how it tended to go. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that being said, though, one thing Sony I think could have done, if or maybe still can do if they are holding more cards up their sleeve for some reason, is if they actually did like PS3 emulation with the PS5 Pro, that would actually be like close to like a system seller for me. If it was like, okay, we're gonna have PS3 backwards compatibility with your previous purchases, I would be like, okay, you have me there, because I am scared every time I turn on my PS3 that it's just not gonna work, because that thing is nearing 20 years old. Yeah, like that's yeah, like if Xbox didn't do backwards compatibility this generation, I think it would have been much easier for me to just say, oh, I'm just gonna buy a PS4 and that's it. But I was pretty much on the verge of that because all the cool stuff like Persona 5 was coming out for PS4, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just sell my Xbox. But then they announced backwards compatibility, and it's like, oh my god, all these games I own work on a new console now. Like that was a selling point for me, or at least a not selling my console point, if you want to put it that way. Um, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, but I feel like but the market of people who have a ton of PS3 games, I don't think is like the majority of the market at this point. So like, if they were to like actually implement a proper backwards compatibility program for the PS3 games, because that's really the missing puzzle piece for them. Because they have a pretty good selection of PS1 and PS2 games on there now, on their subscription stuff. Like, and just the experience of streaming the PS3 games. I've done it a few times, and it's never like I'm always just like, I would rather just go out and buy a copy of this than put it in my PS3. So like, I feel like they could turn that into a selling point. Like I would subscribe to PS Plus to have actual downloadable PS3 games at least for a while. Or if they were just purchasable a la carte, I would do that. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Like they've Yeah, I mean they already threatened to close the PS3 store. People forget about that. Like they came very close to doing that already. And honestly, like Microsoft didn't get too much blowback when they did the 360 stores. So I feel like Sony feels like they're in the clear now to like, okay, maybe like in the next year or so they'll finally shutter that thing. Yeah, like Sony's having the most like, I don't know, manic depressive episode of a couple of weeks that I've ever seen a company go through. Like they had Concord, which was like, oh my god, this is like probably one of the biggest single first-party game launch disasters I've ever seen. Just shuttering a game as a service that you charge $40 for within 2 weeks. That's like, yeah, that's insane. So they went from that. They went from that to Astrobot getting phenomenal reviews, and like, if I hadn't just spent a bunch of money on other stuff and decimated my gaming budget, I would absolutely have picked that up by now. But I do plan on picking it up sometime, probably this month. I'm looking forward to it. So they went from that to Astrobot, and now they have the PS5 Pro, which is getting the most positive I could say is like a tepid response. The most negative is like a, I guess, train wreck of a response. But then again, like, it's getting a lot of bad responses, but I wouldn't be surprised if it sells pretty well at the end of the day. It's not gonna be like some disaster. Like, I already saw it. I was reading a headline while I was using there. Like, it's already like pretty much selling out the pre-orders already. So that's yeah. Yeah, like, it comes down to the performance cost. Like, very few companies have gotten ray tracing and performance right. Like, I feel like the one game I can think of that really nailed it was Insomniac Spider-Man games. Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2 both have like excellent ray tracing modes that don't compromise too badly on performance. And that's very, very rare. Yeah. Like, yeah. And when I do flip on the ray tracing modes for games that have them, it's like, okay, let me flip it on. If I start to see like frame drops and then I switch it back to the performance mode without ray tracing and it's running smoothly at 60, then I'm just going to keep it on the smoothly at 60 option. But I I like having the option there, especially if you think about it being like a future proofing sort of thing, because think about games that have like games that launch out of the box with ray tracing that like maybe didn't perform too well, and then yeah, I'm good. But then we get to either next gen or even mid gen upgrades like the PS5 Pro, and it's like, oh, suddenly this terrible mode that couldn't hold a locked frame rate is holding a locked frame rate. So that, like, I don't mind developers putting those options in there for that reason, but in the present time, ray tracing just isn't quite there on consoles for the most part. Yeah. Yeah. Like Yeah. I mean, like that. I don't see too much of an issue with that. Like it's just yeah. Like I don't know. Like there's always going to be another sort of horizon to chase with the graphics. So yeah. So yeah. Like I don't really necessarily get all the hand wringing about like, oh, this is such a minimal upgrade. It's like I guess, but like it's still an upgrade and like I I'm fine having that. Yeah. I'm fine having that hardware. Yeah, like but I think we are getting to the point where like Sony's seeing like, okay, it may not be a huge thing now, but developers want more power. Let's get them something that can do more. And we also have our developers working on PC versions. Why not let those PC versions or let our PlayStation versions get closer to parity with those PC versions too? Or what, if you have a 4090 or a high end card or something like that. Yeah, I mean, but do you really? I don't know. That's never been a big thing for me. Like, I'm just here for the games. I don't care where else they're playable. Yeah, yeah. I mean that's just where the phone manufacturers are right now. They're all trying to chase their own version of these AI buzzwords. Good luck to them, I guess. Yeah, I suppose, but I don't know how much the current development environment really favors that because most developers are just scaling for so many devices these days outside of like Nintendo. So I think right, well, yeah, and Yeah, but this does also add another wrinkle to where I know we've discussed this before, but it's becoming a little more concrete now. Like, what is Xbox going to do next? Because they can try to get the jump on Sony, which is what they're rumored to be trying to do. Like that rumored like 2026 launch of yeah. So it's like, are they? It'll be really interesting to see what they do next because now that Sony has laid their cards on the table for the next few years as far as hardware, unless they have another surprise up their sleeve, it's like okay, now Xbox's turn. They're the next ones up between the two of them to show what they have next. Sure, but I, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Right. That's the one market they can't afford to like really cede much ground on because they actually have ground to lose. Because yeah, yeah. Oh, it's going up $5 in the U.S. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I mean, Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, and like I feel like bringing up Xbox One things at that point is a little bit out of date because that was over a decade ago. Like that was 11 years ago. The whole situation with people being locked in digital ecosystems is so much different than it was then. Like people forget, like on the 360 store, there were plenty of games that just never went up digitally, so people weren't buying digitally as much. Like many full price games just were physical only, even in 360 era. So there wasn't really pressure for people like, oh, I'm going to go all digital now, because that wasn't an option for a lot of games. It wasn't really until the Xbox One and PS4 that people were like, oh, I can just buy my all of my games digitally now. That really was like a generational turning point. And from then on, people just locked into that. Mhm. Yeah, I mean that pivot looked much more promising when Helldivers 2 launched compared to where we are now, where Concord was launched and unlaunched. Yeah, I mean, hey, maybe yeah. I mean, maybe something like Astrobot will be a good bellwether where it's like Sony can look at it and say, okay, this is a good path forward. Maybe we shouldn't have closed Japan Studio and had just left Team Asobi. Maybe we should have focused more efforts into this than Concord, but that's always hindsight. So, but now that they're in this position where Astrobot is launched to like insanely, good critical reviews. At least I've heard the sales haven't been like lighting up too much, which is unfortunate. But at least getting the critical reviews that they want from that sort of game, maybe they can look at it. That can be a path forward where Team Asobi can kind of be the leaders of saying like, here's how we make a game like this that gets critically acclaimed without having a Last of Us 2 budget. And yeah, yeah. Like Mario has been so good because Nintendo gives each of those time. Like Nintendo has the luxury that most people don't, where they have these very talented developers and they let them just literally simmer for, you know, years. They will throw out entire games if it's not working and go back to the drawing board. Most companies do not have that luxury. Yeah, yeah, but in the case of Mario, even like they launched Mario Odyssey in 2017, most companies would fast track a sequel to that. Given how well Odyssey sold, they would just fast track a sequel and have it out in 3 to 4 years, right? But Nintendo has the luxury of saying, well, let's experiment a bit. They put out Bowser's Fury, and it's like, okay, maybe this is where they're headed next. And they were able to put out this weird little experimental Mario game tacked onto another. And from then on out, we have not heard a single peep about like the next mainline 3D Mario. So they've been giving their developers time. That's the big thing. Is like, and again, I read an interview with a Team Asobi guy where he's like, yeah, Sony just kind of let us incubate ideas for a while after launching the pack-in with the PS5, and it's like, yes, that's what you need to give developers time to do that they often don't get the time to do. Because like I haven't played the new Astrobot yet, but what I've heard is that its approach to the level design is incredibly Nintendo-like, where they will have a new concept where you think, oh my god, they could make a whole game around this, and they'll use it for 2 levels and then move on and have another really cool concept. That's like kind of Nintendo, at least Mario design philosophy in a nutshell. And like that's really promising. It's like if they can get developers in that mindset of being able to just have cool concepts and use them in a less restricted way, just like, yeah, we can do this for a few levels and move on, rather than being beholden to something. I like The Last of Us, don't get me wrong, but I don't need every game to follow that sort of formula. Yeah. And and the yeah, yeah, and yeah, and mhm. No idea. Huh. I didn't know that. I mean, I guess I just didn't hear. I didn't hear that that was something they were going to be doing. Kind of cool. Yeah, I was about to go grab that. Oh, you got it. Yep. All right. So I think I'll have time to get our last chest here. I think it's on Marauder's Arch, and we're at grade 3. Okay. Well, we're playing it, I think, right? Yeah, I mean, I was going to bring that up too. Like, they have like I was looking at a lot of the cameos in Astrobot, and it's like, oh man, they have a lot of stuff that they just haven't touched in. And this goes for Xbox to a certain extent too. They just have all these IPs, and I understand the concept that I remember Phil Spencer bringing up was like, you need to find a team that actually wants to do it. So I understand not just plucking a random team and saying, hey Bethesda, go make a new Banjo Kazooie. I understand that, but yeah, but surely you have enough IP that you can find enough of a contingent of people to what? Yeah, about. Yeah, it was like not. Yeah, probably about 4. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh nice. Yeah, but I also feel like that's become less true over time because I remember when Digital Foundry was like, somewhat new, it was a pretty niche thing that not a lot of people were watching much. And then I feel like once the Xbox One and PS4 launched, that's when I really noticed people like, oh, you know, suddenly I'm pixel counting a lot. Oh no, I don't even mean it that way. I just feel like a lot of people were not even comparing Xbox against PS4, but more so just like, oh, these consoles, what resolution is this running versus what a PC can do. More of in that framing. Like, yeah. So like I feel like that's become less true over time as more games are just coming, now pretty much everything just comes to PC as a matter of course. So people, yeah, absolutely. Like I personally am not like against 30 FPS if the game plays well. Like I played 40 hours of Starfield at 30 FPS. I was like, oh, this this plays well enough. I don't really notice it. When the 60 FPS update came out, I was like, okay, I'll do that now. But I didn't have a problem with the 30 FPS after a bit. Yeah. Yeah, but that's their job. That's literally like what they do. I like that's yeah, but I don't know that yeah, yeah. I find those comparisons interesting not as a point of like, console wars, but I just like seeing like what compromises did the developer have to make. Like for example, I just bought a bunch of 360 games in the past couple weeks and just because it was like dirt cheap, I bought the 360 version of Forza Horizon 2, and it 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 plays pretty well. It's like, oh, this is like, it's interesting to see them try to pare down an Xbox One game and fit it on a 360. So like that's the kind of stuff I like to see is how did they try to make this work? And for the most part, they were successful. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I remember enough of Forza Horizon 2 on the Xbox One that I can kind of like see like, oh, I remember this part looking way better. And obviously the lighting is way worse. A lot of things are way worse. The loading times are like at least doubled. So there's plenty of compromises, but I find that stuff fascinating. And that's why I was like, when Digital Foundry came out, like I was like, oh, this is like the best thing that a gaming publication has done in a long time. So I was like on board with them. Yeah. Oh, there's a ship. There's a airship. I'm gonna get the anchor up. It's a sloop, and we've sold a lot of the good stuff, but I'm just gonna get ready to go. Okay. Okay, let's just do that then. I just want to get the anchor up. It looks like they're pulling their sails up. I'm gonna see if they start firing. If they start firing, I'm just gonna start repairing, and you can keep selling. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, they're firing. All right, I'm just gonna help them sell. Let's just do that. So we're probably gonna lose our emissary status in a second, but we can at least get most of the value out of it. Watch out if someone starts boarding too. All right, yeah, we sold the chest of legends. That was the big one. Right. Yeah. So the ship's gonna be gone, but let's just get everything out of here. Okay. I'm just gonna keep selling. Yeah, I mean we. Yeah, I mean that feels inevitable that they're gonna follow this up in some way. Yeah. Yeah, like they have a lot of room to. Yeah, they still have a lot of room to grow because like they've been stuck with the map they designed, you know, 7 years ago at this point. So I feel like if they were to just start fresh with all the lessons they've learned from this game. Well, no, I mean 7 years since the alpha. Yeah, because the alpha was 2017. That's all right. But yeah, me too. Since we lost our emissary, we don't have to go back to the outpost or anything. So I think we're good. We got most of the value out of everything. Yeah, I mean, I wonder maybe they will just have. I even wonder maybe they will, if Microsoft does launch something substantial in, like, let's say 2026, if they would have a, since they would be cutting off the Xbox One at that point, it'll be two generations behind. Like, if they have something like a Sea of Thieves 2 that is scaled to the Series S and X as the baseline, you know what I mean? And then have fancier stuff for whatever newer machine they have, rather than making it like a next gen exclusive whenever that comes out. Like, build on the existing player base they have on the Series X and X, and still make it look and feel a lot better. Yeah. Yeah, like that game's been MIA for so long. Like, they need to show some sort of proof of life, like probably by next year, or like I think most people, I think at that point you consider it pretty much just vaporware. Like, if it's gone 5 years, yeah, if it goes, because I think if they don't show it next year, it'll be like 5 years without anything besides vague words about it. So I think that's right. Let me see when they last showed it off. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, Everwild was last shown off in 2020. So they really should show it off next year, I hope, if it still exists. Yeah. It could be. Yeah. 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 All right. Yeah. I do have a few days off now. I probably wouldn't make it on tomorrow night. Um, let's see. Friday, probably not. Maybe Saturday. What about? Okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Um, Nice. Yeah, I should see if any of my friends want to see that because I haven't watched the first Beetlejuice in probably 20 years. So maybe I should rewatch that too. Cool. Well, that's a lot better than a lot of these long time sequels have been. So okay is good enough for me. Um, yeah, yeah. So if Saturday doesn't work, I could maybe do Friday. That kind of remains to be seen because I do have trivia that night. Oh, that's right. That's during the evening. Okay. Uh, okay. Okay. If that works for you, then we can plan on that. Because I would definitely be home by 10. I wasn't sure if I'd be home by 9:30 that night because I do have trivia, but that gets out by like 9. And I would be home by like quarter of 10 probably. So I guess, oh yeah, yeah. If you want to just like, if you have time at some point, just run through the tutorial. It takes maybe like 10 minutes, but it seems pretty necessary because there's a lot going on there, like in terms of shifting gears, changing tires. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's not super long, but it's definitely worth going through just to refresh yourself even. All right. Well, yeah, let's plan for now on Friday and I'll let you know if things change. But yeah, let's plan on 10 o'clock. That should be doable for me. Yeah, you as well. See ya.